Namaskar and welcome to Changemakers. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. This is a show that celebrates inspiring individuals, incredible organizations who are bringing in sustainable solutions to our traditional problems. Today in Changemakers, we are talking about public sanitation. Public sanitation is closely related to public health. Mahatma Gandhi recognized that fact long ago. In fact, his struggle for freedom was closely associated with his advocacy for cleaner India. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan draws inspiration from his ideals as it expands the sanitation infrastructure in the country. Today, our change makers are bringing in new innovations to make our public toilets cleaner, smarter and sustainable. Here's how. Today, India is witnessing a revolution in public sanitation. Our change makers are playing an important role in expanding the coverage and updating technology used in public toilets. Meet Banka Bayalu from Hyderabad and startup Sukriti from Gurgaon. Banka Bayalu Limited is a pioneer in water, sanitation and hygiene infrastructure. They provide sanitation infrastructure and turnkey human waste management solutions and services. Founded by Namita Banka, who moved from jewelry business to public sanitation, Bayalu involves innovative and simple biodigester technologies patented by DRDO.
I used to cross this route many times. Last year government has installed bio-tablets here. So for the commuters, which is very much useful for the female. Nowadays females are coming outside for the livelihoods and job. So it is very useful for them. So I request to government to install bio-tablets everywhere.
Banka Bayalu also provides sanitation operations and maintenance to one of the largest rail networks globally, the Indian Railways, ensuring a pleasant travel experience for millions of passengers every day.
Bio-toilets have been introduced by Indian Railways as an innovative solution to provide a eco-friendly disposable mechanism for the human solid waste. It's a complete waste management solution wherein the human solid waste is disposed in an environment-friendly way.
Startup Sukriti brings together a team of highly passionate engineers who work on solving some of the most daunting developmental challenges in the country. The startup, founded by three friends from IIT Roorkee, Aditya Tomar, Anuj Yadav and Anirudh Yadav, their efforts in the area of public sanitation led to creation of EcoMitra smart toilets. The toilets replace manual cleaning with auto flushing and floor cleaning. It also decides the optimum water required. It has smart entry management and stops user entry in case of empty water tanks or chokes a patented sensorless tech.
इस वॉशरूम का जो मेंटेनेंस है, साफ सफाई है, आपको कहीं देखने को नहीं मिलेगी। ग्वालियर में क्या, मैं बाहर की जगह पर भी बोलता हूँ, और यहाँ पे कमोड वगैरह, फर्श वगैरह बिल्कुल क्लीन।
There is an on-site wastewater treatment, saving 80% water by recycling it for flushing, floor cleaning and other activities. This toilet too is maintenance-free with zero operational cost. Smart health monitoring conveys maintenance schedule to central monitoring station based on toilet's health. The entire setup runs on solar energy, so no separate electricity connection is required. EcoMitra toilets use strong and robust RCC superstructure and reduce the probability and need for replacement. For Gandhiji, sanitation was more important than independence. Sanitation, cleanliness are integral part of Gandhian way of life. It was a fitting tribute when on 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma, India was able to declare itself open defecation free. Let's now meet our change makers who are taking this journey forward, learn about their work, their vision and how they are transforming public toilets and sanitation in the country. You're watching Changemakers and we have with us Namita Banka, Managing Director and founding member of Banka Biolu. Also Aditya Tomar, co-founder and CEO, startup Sukriti. They're creating smart toilets. They're called Eco Mitra. Warm welcome to both of you in Changemakers. We just saw your inspiring story. Namita, first we'd like to come to you. From jewelry business to public sanitation. It's a massive shift in so many ways. Help us understand, what were your motivations?
The health of a woman was the main motivation. So basically where I was working in jewelry didn't have any toilets and I had a serious health issue. So I really didn't know the logic why it was happening. But when I got a chance to work with Indian Railways, that's where I realized public health and women health has been the most neglected part of the whole business in India. And that's what I got into it. And slowly and steadily, I started learning that there's a lot of work to be done and I can be the person running it, and it became my mission and vision. So a lot of personal experience for you. You saw that there was a problem, you faced that problem personally, yes. And then you thought of this enterprise. Right, Aditya, you and the other co-founders of Sukriti startup, you're from IIT Roorkee. Now, traditionally, we would think that graduates from a premier institution like that have such exciting opportunities. Many of them decide to go abroad. You decided to stay back and engage in public sanitation. Why?
Well, first of all, Subhendu, thank you for having me again on this show. And this is one question that I think I had to answer every other day. So, yes. Because
you've broken a stereotype in many ways, and that's why perhaps this question.
I would say, although not intentionally, but somewhere deep inside me, there was this thing. In fact, I won't just say myself, my other co-founders as well, that people looked at IITians as someone who do not really care about their society, who do not care about the country. But now, so that is one thing, but that doesn't mean that we have to do something in public sanitation, right? So during our final years in our college, we were working on a waste management project. One of my other partner, Anirudh, so he went to WHO for an internship after his third year as a mandatory internship. The numbers that we saw there, those were very, heart-wrenching, I would say. It's something like when we are in the middle of the problem, we usually do not see the problem. But when he went to WHO and then explained everything to me, we could see the things entirely in a different sense. And that's where the idea of Sukriti basically germinated. And then we did a tour across the country. In Bihar, we went to various parts of UP, Haryana and Uttarakhand. Obviously, we were based out of Roorkee, which is in Uttarakhand. There we found out the problems that people are really facing in the public sanitation domain.
Namita, you mentioned how your own personal experience as a woman, need of a clean toilet was one of the driving factors, but you also woman entrepreneur in the field of public sanitation. And that's also, unfortunately, a rarity in the country. So take us through your experience also, not just as a user, but also an entrepreneur in this area. What did it mean for you?
As an entrepreneur, what I understood in sanitation business was it was in the ambit of most of the NGOs. NGOs were taking up this job of maintaining of the waste and then cleaning of the toilets, which was not driven by any kind of motivation. So when I started this, I realized very clearly that it has to be a commercial business to sustain. And that's the only way we can solve the problem of a sustainable toilet, a sustainable bio toilet, and a technology, which of course was not present at that time. So bio toilet is which came out as a sustainable model for us, where we could treat the waste and build toilets along with it. So having an enterprise as a social enterprise can only give me a leverage to access to funds to sustain it. And that's why I started the social enterprise, saying that no, if I have to build toilets, I will do it as an enterprise, not as a dependent on some grants or something to do something for somebody. So that was the reason, and that's the only reason why I've sustained today.
Right. But do you also see, both of you as entrepreneurs, in the recent year, the perception towards public sanitation has also changed? Government has focused on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. In that sense, sanitation has become central to good governance as well. So has that helped you in your work reaching out to people? Namita, if you want to answer first.
Yes, that was definitely a feather in the cap, I would say, because it was very difficult to people to really explain that this needs a change. It's been 60 years and we were 67% open defecators, and I was calling myself as the world's #1 open defecator country, and that was very sad actually, to be #1 on something which is very basic. And I think so that speaking in those public forums, government also picked it up. With Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, there has been a lot of change, and to say that there has been almost 30% decrease in open defecation free since last 10 years, and that's a big change, and going forward it is continue. So that habit building takes time, and if the government is part of this behavioral change exercise, that's the only thing that can help us change the whole thing about public sanitation especially.
Right. Aditya, your engagement with the government has been also at another level. As a startup, part of the Startup India program, there's been a lot of sort of focus on the manner in which startups sustain and do well. What would you say about both Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and Startup India mission, the manner in which it helped you put together your work?
Yes, definitely, Subhendu. We are kind of, actually, I always say in one of my pitches that we are an example of Startup India, Make in India, and Swachh Bharat Mission. So, because Swachh Bharat Mission is something that you can immediately correlate toilet, Swachh Bharat, it's good. But we, very rarely people know that we have been incubated by Indian Oil Startup Scheme. They have funded the development of entire solution. They have funded the field validation and trials, and under the umbrella of Startup India. And while we are talking about Digital India, Make in India, and a lot of incentive government is throwing so that people would manufacture in India, I can say this with complete confidence, everything that we are doing, it has been designed in India, it is being manufactured in India, and it has been designed for India.
Right. Also, India, with its population size, economic disparity, public sanitation is a huge issue and also a huge area to work in. Namita, when you started with this idea, how did you really shortlist what is going to be the extent of your venture? How much ground are you going to cover? What hurdles did you face at that time? Give us a picture of those initial days.
So, to tell you frankly, I had no clue where I was heading to. I just had one mission, that my country has to become open defecation free. In 2012, that is the pledge that we had taken. And we said, I don't know how we are going to do it, but that's what we want to see. And to do that, we did some very key things. That, of course, technology was one thing that we adopted for BioLoose. Secondly, we did whatever we could to meet whomever, like in the officers, others, and tell them that this has to change. And in many forums like that, even there were some toilet challenges and all that, we participated in whatever we could. And I have distributed more than 100 numbers of toilet free of cost. Because, and it just got me about 30,000, 40,000, but we have done that. I have reached out to every banker to fund me. Whatever schemes the government had, I have taken that. So these are the things which I knew was very, very difficult for us, and I don't know where we are going to do. I started my humble business with just 10 lakh rupees, and today we are an NSE listed company. So the reason we never knew that we were going to come this long, but we knew the problem was very big, and we just wanted to be a part. And we are 0.0001% of this whole movement, but still we have created something, and that's where I have seen the change in last 10 years, saying that there was nothing before. Now at least we women know that there are toilets at the airports, there are toilets at the public stations, there are toilets. It is available. We know that, and I have seen it in front of my eyes, the change. And for that, only thing I did, I was beating the drum loud, saying that we want this, and I am here to do it. Please help us out. And that's the thing we have done.
That's fantastic. Aditya, you mentioned how your team went around the country trying to assess the scale of the problem, which, as we were talking about, is huge. So what were your initial plans then about starting? What were the initial hurdles that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
So the first hurdle that we faced was very much internal to us. We had to clear that mental block from families, from friends and circles, because again, you rightly said right in the beginning, you are an IITian. So being an IITian gives us a lot of privilege, but we are surrounded by these barriers that we can't even think of.
Absolutely.
So those were the first set of barriers which has nothing to do with the problem, which were quite internal that we had to cross. And as Namita ji rightly said, the problem is that we have to educate. Everyone knows there is a problem. The authorities know, the Nagar Nigams, the municipal commissioners, the IAS, the clerks, the babus, everyone knows that this is the problem, this area needs a toilet. But if you look at the priority list, it will be the last, maybe in the annexures. So the problem that we had faced right in the beginning was to change the priority levels, bringing it from the last to that maybe top 10, maybe top 5. And Swachh Bharat Abhiyan did a lot of help in that.
Right. The manner in which your organizations, Aditya, Namita, stand out is also how you're shining examples of Make in India, using technology, innovations, which have been sort of developed indigenously in the country. Aditya, if I can come to you first on this, you've to a great extent automated public sanitation. There is also use of solar energy. So in that sense, it's also sustainable energy-wise. The water is also getting recycled. Help us understand this innovation part. How did you go about it, and making it entirely in the country? How big was the challenge?
So see, when we look at the problem, so the solution that comes naturally is that solution has to be sustainable.
Yes.
Because see, the problem of today, we know that the problem today is the toilet, lack of toilets. But the next problem that is going to come in front of us is we are going to have water-filled, the waste-filled water bodies. Because the moment you have toilets in each household, the waste flowing out of those toilets is going to your water bodies. Yes,
that's right.
And since the waste is going there, then there's a next problem that is coming right in front of us. That is why we have to think of a solution which is sustainable in its entirety. It's an end-to-end integrated solution. The waste has to be handled in a proper way. It is not supposed to burden our existing water bodies, be it lakes, be it ponds, be it rivers. It is not supposed to burden that, and we should be able to operate it in any kind of geographic conditions where there might be electricity connection, there might not be, there might be water connection, there might not be. So that was the idea behind integrating all these features, and obviously the automation part is included because we had to take care that we are not dependent on any individual to regularly come and clean it. It takes care of its cleanliness, its hygiene automatically. 21st century solutions have to be sustainable. Now, what Banka Biolu does also is to engage in indigenous technology, which makes it sustainable. Your association with DRDO. Take us through that. How does that make your public toilets different from what we've ever seen before?
So the main challenge of making any public toilet was definitely there was no sewage systems around. So an on-site treatment was absolutely required. The second problem that we came across was there was no electricity available. and third, of course, is the water. These three things were very crucial for building any toilets anywhere across India. So for us, we found that this bio toilets, which has been adopted by Indian Railways, was a huge success in the rural areas where the treatment did not require any kind of electricity and almost treated the waste to a level which could be discharged in the agricultural fields and water, which we have already done almost no more than 20,000. So that was the first success that we had a superstructure and a treatment system alone together, which is called the BioLoose. And it can be installed anywhere, anytime, within no time. Second thing, that was the water. Of course, in most of the villages, what we found out that they don't have any pipe connections. So most of them store water and most of them bring water in cans and everything. So we use that method to provide waters in all these toilets. So we have we make a small system where people can have this, or we build a tank on the top which they come and fill it up. And in some of the places, we even installed a very low force lift pumps, which were not very deep, but would provide, when people would drink the water from the borewells, we connect it and directly it would be filled to the tanks. So these are the kind of innovation that we did, where we used no energy at all for toilets to be built and water to be supplied.
Restoring the human dignity engaged in sanitation work. Earlier, many had to clean a lot of waste with their hands, and today, one, you've either automated or you've using technologies like biodigester, where there's no human intervention as such. How significant is that for you to be able to make that difference in this field? Namita.
For me, it makes a lot of change, because if you do something with hand, definitely the culture, the people think that you are from a lower background or you're from a certain set of category or caste of India. This has changed completely. So now we have people coming from all sorts of castes, and there's no discrimination of hiring based on some caste in this particular field. Now we have almost 800 people doing the same thing, maintaining the toilets in Indian Railways, and I'm proud to say they're all young people from villages who did not have an opportunity to work in this space because it was tagged to that particular caste and creed or something. So that change has happened and people are wanting to join in because they get good jobs.
Right, fantastic. And for the transformative work that you're doing, as an entrepreneur, you would also want to get direct feedback. If I were to ask you, what is the most memorable feedback that a user or a colleague has shared with you for the work that you've done? Aditya?
So I think it happened around 2-3 weeks back. So as I told you, Indian Oil is our funding agency. So there we are incubated with them. So one of our mentor, he was traveling in Gwalior, and we did a lot of work with Gwalior Smart City. So he knew that we have been working in Gwalior, and then he was traveling in a cab, and then he asked, he was passing by one of the toilets that we installed. So we just asked him how it is. कि भाई इसमें क्या है, क्या चीज बनी है साइड में, just to get the view. So the cab driver basically he told him that ये स्मार्ट सिटी ने कुछ स्मार्ट टॉयलेट्स बनाए हैं, ऑटोमेटिक टॉयलेट बनाए हैं, बहुत साफ सुथरे रहते हैं. हम लोगों को बड़ा इससे फायदा होता है, कभी भी पूरा दिन रोड पे रहना होता है. So 4-5 lines that the cab driver told, and then that person told me that was one thing that happened very recently, and these are the small doses of motivation that we keep on getting and that keep us going. Otherwise, we are surrounded by a lot of problems.
Yeah. Wonderful. Namita, any experience that comes to your mind when you think of the work that you've done and the feedback that you've got?
So the feedback, the biggest feedback is the kind of like when we were listed in NSC, and many people used to tell me you will never be able to raise money and you'll never scale up. And I was like, okay, I don't know, but I'll just still try. It was a difficult race, but when we raised, and suddenly I see change in the attitude of people, the way they were dealing with me initially, and later when we became so. What I understood from this, it's not about any business. It's about how we do it and how we are convinced that what we're doing is right.
Absolutely. On that note, Namita, Aditya, thank you very much for joining us for this conversation, and many compliments for the extraordinary work that you and your enterprises are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Subhendu. Thank you, Namita ji. Thank you once again.
With that, we've come to the close of this edition of Changemakers. I hope the individuals, organizations that we met today will inspire you to be an agent of change in your life and society. Till we meet again. Namaskar.
Ocean felt like freedom, you know. Ocean is my mother and I'm her child.
She's the athlete who started the wave of surfing across the nation. This is Tanvi Jagdish, the first professional woman